G'day, this is Captainoob, and this is an Institute Covert Ballistic pistol. This is a standalone pistol firing bullets. That's where the ballistic comes from. Chambered it in 38 rounds, so unfortunately, unlike the standard Institute laser guns that we'll find in Fallout 4, this thing isn't going to fire lasers, but I would understand the weapon might be a little bit less covert when your enemies can see directly where you're firing it from when the lasers light up the sky. Although, what you could probably do is just make the lasers totally invisible and just keep the impact from the lasers there, so it'll have like an invisible laser effect except for when the projectiles hit, which will leave that nice little blue spark that it leaves behind. I feel like that's probably the way I would have done it, but they've given us bullets, which means it's better anyway because ballistic damage is calculated properly in this game. And taking a quick look at this thing, you can see they've used some vanilla assets here. There's the iron sights you usually see for the Institute rifle there. You've got this slimmed down automatic barrel on the front here. For reference, here's what the automatic barrel looks like on the standard Institute rifle. Look, these things only ever look good in the hands of a synth. They're not pretty looking things, and they're actually inferior to the pre-war laser guns, which I think was a little bit of a misstep by Bethesda, but that's just how we are. Just note this bit right here is also replicated under here. And we've also got a 10mm pistol. I believe that's a comfort grip there, or a sharpshooter's grip, actually, as the grip there. In the magazine, you can't see it, but if you get an extended magazine, then you can have that. I don't recognize this part, but I'm noticing there's been a couple of slimmed down versions of the Institute rifle that have been getting around the Nexus lately, and I have to assume that that is from there, because I can't, for the life of me, find out where exactly those sort of parts are. If you look at the pistol form and even in rifle form, which only adds a little bit of a stock to it, that's sort of not present. But being a weapon which has vanilla assets sort of included into it, you'll find that the Creation Club paints actually work on it. And unfortunately, there's no attachment point to put those on, but you might be able to jury rig something if you download this for yourself and put it in the creation kit. But let's just get started with the receivers. This thing can be utilized both semi-auto and automatic form, which means you can use commando or gunslinger to get the damage done. For now, we'll start off with the advanced receiver here. And a curious thing about the pistols is that when you upgrade with gunslinger, you get extra range out of it. So in comparison, from 125 range, the auto receiver goes down to 71, which is a significant step down there because, well, that's almost shotgun range, to be honest. So we'll keep that with the advanced receiver for now, and we can increase our accuracy and range by putting on this tiny little barrel extension there. I wouldn't even consider that to be a compensator, but you know, that's extra range for me. That's pretty good. Better damage over range, and VATS usage will be slightly more effective. The sharpshooter's grip will better our recoil and hipfire accuracy. I suppose that's basically the same as what you'd get out of a 10mm pistol. So I guess the name of that grip matches what its actual model is. And we'll chuck in a large quick ejector magazine. There's no reason for us not to put as high a capacity and as fast as reload as possible. There's no muzzles here, and you might be thinking that this thing's got an inbuilt suppressor being a covert ballistic pistol, and I did some air quotations, you couldn't see it, but through preliminary testing, I found that I only get a 3.9 times multiplier on this instead of a 4.4 like you'd have with suppressors. So this thing is actually currently unsuppressed, but I think the game has, or the modder has set this thing to be slightly more quiet than your standard guns in the game. And there's also a legendary effect if you need it. I'd like to have explosive on this, but I will refrain. I will exercise some restraint. I'll create a couple more of these, probably just one more to be honest, being automatic, and then I'm going to shoot things. Getting this weapon is fairly straightforward. If you've blown up the Institute, you won't be able to buy it from the vendors, but you can always craft it on the chemistry workbench under Institute Covert Ballistic for Gun Nut Rank 2 and these components. Easy as. Righto, so we're outside of the immersive Gunner's Plaza, probably punching above this weapon's weight, but here is the Institute Covert Ballistic Pistol in first person. That's what it looks like aiming down the sights. Yes, very reminiscent and familiar for the laser guns of the Institute variety in the vanilla game. And we'll take another quick look at this thing. I made this other one too. This one is automatic and this one is not. You can't tell the difference. They're basically twins. Unfortunately, you can't run dualies with these. That'd be kind of cool. But we're going to start off with the version with the semi-auto here, and hopefully we can get some good work done against these gunners if these iron sights would want to align. Okay, I think I probably did that from a little bit too far out, but as you can tell, I'm getting a 3.9 times multiplier instead of my glorious 4.4, and now the fight is actually on, and that's not good because there's a lot of gunners over there, so this one might be a little bit painful to get through. If we die, we'll just go inside. Don't worry, we'll just go inside and pretend we never even came out here. Apparently, my previous mistake was not my last one, but the one before that was the last mistake. Okay, enough about game lines going off twice in a row. That's always amusing when that happens, though. Generally, it doesn't like to do that, but perhaps I underestimated the effectiveness of what this weapon could be. Again, we're only firing the 38 rounds, and we're doing a fairly good amount of DPS. I just don't think the covert angle we could probably yeah, just forget about that. This thing's not going to be sneaking that much at all just because it's too loud. Okay, we are suffering from super bad range penalties there. That enemy was a lot more tanky than anything else so far. So probably want to switch over to our semi-auto one here. These two are just sort of alone. I don't know exactly where everyone else is, but oh, there they are. Okay, the cavalry has arrived here. I thought they were... I hear some gunfire. I feel like they were shooting at something else for just a while there, but there we seem to be getting into a little bit of a groove here, and I think I'm going to switch back over to... Hang on, we're already using the semi-auto one, of course, and I'm going to shoot this guy. So it's kind of like a deliverer, but like the Institute version of it, right? Without the VATS enhanced legendary effects. But as you can tell, like I got many shots with this thing. Just kill the bastard. See, this is why you don't take 38 specials into a forest fight, because the trees will eat them up every single time. And honestly, you're too far out of range. My iron sights, they're not that good. And before you try to roundhouse kick me there, buddy, I'll try to take you out. Oh, another thing about gunslinger weapons is they disarm, which is really useful for these cheeky little bastards who want to pick up this bloody MG42. I see you there. Put that down. Put it down. Don't do it. Who would have thought the best counter? Oh my god. That would be number 4 who's run to the MG. Look, you know the weapon's a little bit overpowered when the NPCs go out of their bloody way to pick the bloody thing up, but having that extra little bit of disarm chance, I feel like that's saving me here, and the DPS probably isn't going to be that different at ranges because of that extra damage that you get from your semi ones, or rather if you look at it from the damage penalty from the automatics. If we just want to go up to these guys and glock them in the face like that, that's probably the most effective way to do it, which I'll tell you, it's not really that covert feeling, but we've got a little bit of shadows around us at the moment, so I might be able just to sneak around just a little bit. We slip back into caution. We might be able to drop some sneak criticals, just some cheeky ones. There we go. A lot of recoil on this thing. A lot more recoil than the Institute would probably lack, but maybe they're using... I mean, synths are too stupid, unless they're like Corsa synths to like run stealth ops, right? They've just got these robots that just look, they're just kind of like battle droids. They're just kind of that effective. They're just cannon fodder. The Institute don't care about them. They're just tools. And yeah, obviously those guys wouldn't be able to utilize this thing. So it might just be for like field operatives, but the only field operatives the Institute do, since they're all nerd scientists, geeks, is they build superhumans to do that shit for them. So I suppose, like, in terms of damage, this is probably an upgrade to what you'd find from the Institute laser guns themselves, just because of how just terrible they are. Probably by bugs and not super by design, but it is what it is. This one's slightly less efficient in terms of per attack in VATS, but you got to remember that a 3-round burst is what you get out of these things, and it's not like this thing's struggling at all. We're actually doing quite well. It's just that, like, if I have to say anything, like, super negative about it, I just feel like the recoils is a little bit too much. Just a little bit, you know, I'm kind of wrestling with the weapon right now. It doesn't feel particularly good, and I feel like as a pistol with a caliber like this, considering what other weapons behave like with a similar caliber, it almost feels unwarranted. But honestly, I'm kind of nitpicking here. The weapon works pretty well, apart from when you can't sneak properly because it's just a little bit too loud and the suppressor isn't a thing. Maybe the whole deal is it's not supposed to have a suppressor, right? Because it's not firing conventional ammunition that would require the use of the suppressor. I think I've figured it out there. There's a Daddy Longlegs crawling behind camera. He's my friend. He keeps all the earwigs out of the drawers. You don't want earwigs there. Do you get earwigs in the States or wherever you're watching this from? Post in the comments if you do. I'm curious. Actually, I could just Google that. I'll do that later. Anyways, gunners. We're gonna try to do this all proper stealthy like in just a second, but for now, these guys will just go after many bullets. That guy explodes in slow motion. Alright, I think you get the point of this thing against the gunners. It does a competent job, but the covert thing, I'm not really getting much use out of that. So maybe in the cover of darkness, I can get this thing to work a little bit better. Also, while we're here, yeah, it works with classic holstered weapons, which puts them right on your hip. Unfortunately, it kind of looks like you're holding onto the grip of this thing a little bit, just with how the idle position and how you stand works, just the idle animations, but that's not this mod. That's just classic holstered weapons being funny. When you run around, it makes a little bit more sense, I suppose. Alright, time for sneakiness. As soon as one's done with those Rust Devils, we'll be pretty much home free. I think we can assist him through his endeavor here. We'll try to get some, like, sniping shots down range here. I can't actually tell which damage is mine. That's an Assaultron down there. I'm only getting like 7 damage. It's not much at all. Actually, these guys aren't that tough anyway, so maybe we'll be okay. Ideally, I want to get Swan into a place where he gets stuck, and I'm only getting 125 damage out from this range. I feel like using the automatic one would be slightly more effective. I want to get him stuck in a spot where he can't move and can't see me, and yeah, okay, so we're firing at him. We're still in caution, but we're not in caution enough to keep these sneak criticals from coming in, unfortunately. Unless we just, like, attack him slow. Okay, the semi-auto one working slightly better in that prospect, I suppose. I don't exactly know what the difference would be. Gonna try to break line of sight here. Now, that's better. That's some DPS right there. There we go. The covert pistol. Probably during nightfall is the only time, and obviously during operations in cells which have no sunlight, that generally they're dark and you can sneak in them really easy. But I think I'm going to leave things there with the Institute Covert Pistol. There's not much else for me to do or tell you or whatever. I think this is a pretty good summarization of what this weapon's strengths and possibly weaknesses are. In terms of improvement, I think having the option of a suppressor or just having it sort of an inbuilt thing, I think would be nice, because right now the muzzle slot is just completely dormant. There's no attachments that you could actually put on it at all. Oh, cool, it has a little muzzle flash there. So it has the blue glowy muzzle flash. That's probably what's getting you detected most of the time, right? Because, you know, that's pretty obvious to see. But unfortunately, there's no, like, cool bullet explodey or bullet impact that is, lasery, or like even the green blobs of the the plasma enhanced or whatever, plasma infused legendary effect gives you something like that. Just, you know, just something a little bit more anything more than just bullets. This is a little bit more generic. You can have a little bit more character, a little bit better, in my opinion, just to give it that extra blue impact. Just makes it feel more technological. And I think that's it. got nothing much else to say. It's a pretty solid, well-made mod, very lightweight too. Like, there's barely any space taken up at all. So if you've got the space and you'd like to see something that you could consider to be lore-friendly, perhaps you're doing like a stealthy Institute infiltrator playthrough, well, there you go. You've got something to use right there. And that's enough for me. Thank you very much for watching, guys. Good job, Allah.